In 1895, Wilhelm Röntgen discovered radiation by passing an electric current through an evacuated tube and producing the first X-ray. This experiment had many scientists working with radiation and the newly discovered uranium. Eventually, scientists were finding new uses for both uranium and radiation. This experiment confirmed Albert Einstein's paper putting forward. Bohr proposed that fusion occurred in U-235 and was more effective with slow-moving neutrons. William Röntgen and Henrys discovered different types of radiation. Emil Wistrow and Niels Bohr discovered the atom. Radioactivity was found in Central Asia. This sparked by the early 1930s. There was several research specializing in the nuclear physics. When Germany invaded, data was added to military options. Russia started experiments on radioactivity. The top scientists were Kirill Shenko, Petro Kapista, and Vladimir. When Stalin took over, he made Vital Kopelin in charge of studying radioactivity in Asia. The Manhattan Project was developed in 1942 through 1946. It cost about $3 million to make the bomb. The development took place in Canada, United States, and the United Kingdom. The reason that the development took place was because they were afraid that Hitler was going to make a bomb.
WMD.
What's a dumb? Nuclear weapons work when one single neutron hits a plutonium nucleus. Turn the plutonium nucleus into a small atom. Those small atoms create extra neutrons, which create extra energy, thus make an explosion of released energy. And with that, you get this. The Manhattan Project had nearly 40 factories and labs. 200,000 people were involved in the Manhattan Project. The greatest scientists were involved in the Manhattan Project, such as Albert Einstein, Enrico Fermi, Richard Feynman, J. Robert Oppenheimer, and Niels Bohr. Physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer directed the design and building the bomb, and Albert Einstein came up with the formula, the atomic bomb. President Roosevelt was alerted when they were going to test it.
A date which will live in infamy.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
After the test, 2 bombs were made. The Fat Man and the Little Boy. The Little Boy was actually bigger than the Fat Man and was the stronger one of the two. Those are the only bombs dropped in history. The Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima, and the Fat Man was dropped in Nagasaki. During the development of the Manhattan Project, Stalin had spies within the Manhattan Project. Even though it was kept very secret, no one knew but the spies themselves. And Stalin Stalin was informed every day of the progress. After the second dropping, President Truman spoke on the phone with Stalin after the conversation. Truman said to one of his advisors, he didn't sound surprised. Stalin had already known of the destruction caused by the bomb. After the war, Stalin ordered the Nazi scientists to work on the making of the atomic bomb. In 1949, Russia had successfully tested the A bomb shortly after we fell into the Cold War. Because of the Cold War, both America and Russia were making nuclear weapons and finding new ways of delivering the bomb. Eventually, the warhead was created, which was created shortly after the space race. Because of the arms build-up, fear of nuclear war was in the U.S., Soviet Union, and the world. As JFK said,
every inhabitant of this planet must contemplate the day when this planet may no longer be habitable. Every man, woman, and child lives under a nuclear sword of Damocles, hanging by the slenderest of threads, capable of being cut at any moment by accident or miscalculation or by madness. The weapons of war must be abolished before they abolish us.
During the Cuban Missile Crisis, America went in with Bay of Pigs because we found out that the Russians were building missiles bases there. It eventually escalated to the blockade, where there was a stand between Russian and U.S. Navy. Although this was the only public event on which the nuclear bomb was almost launched, there were many others that weren't known. Even after the fall of the Soviet Union, there was an incident where the U.S. military was launched missile to study the northern lights. We told the Russian government, but somebody in Moscow forgot to pass it on, and for the first time in history, the Russian football that has the codes for launching the nuclear weapons. Thankfully, the Russian president did not believe the military and did not put in the codes.
Sorry for interrupting that. A South Korean government source tells CNN that North Korea has fired a long-range rocket, something it had been threatening to do for days now.
We estimate that there are about 23,000 nuclear weapons in the world.
This video, aired on Iranian state-run television, shows what state media Thursday said were new missile tests.
The U.S. believes it's actually a cover for a long-range missile test.
Various groups have been focused on acquiring weapons of mass destruction, in particular nuclear weapons.
I believe is a nuclear test that has been carried out underground in North Korea.
Iran's quest for nuclear weapons on a day when the Israeli Prime Minister explicitly warned U.S. lawmakers about the threat from Iran.
I'll say between 3,000 and 10,000.
Like a billion?
We estimate that there are about 23,000 nuclear weapons in the world.
None.
None.
I state with conviction America's commitment to seek a world without nuclear weapons.
Would it not be better to do away with them entirely?
None.
We'd be better off without them.
I say zero.
No nuclear weapons. Zero.
Zero nuclear weapons.
None.
A.H.B. is... One.